Me, I've seen a scene in a movie and ran to the bathroom. I have, you know. So I mean, it's masturbation is actually to everyone's according to how conservative you want to be, what you want to do, but everyone does it. If you say you don't, you're lying.
I don't. Okay. Here we go. Hey, Fish, we are live here and we're talking about a lot of different things, but the NFL playoffs are set. What are your most intriguing matchups for Wild Card Weekend coming up?
I have one. I love the Jacksonville Jaguars hosting the Chargers. I think those are two hot teams. I like the hot teams going into the playoffs. And they're hot and they're young. Two stud quarterbacks in Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence, and it's a feel-good story that Jacksonville, which is one of the markets in sports, it's small. So I love that. And earlier this season, Jacksonville beat the Chargers 38-10. So that's my most intriguing matchup. The rest,
I like that one too. I think it's going to be curious to see. It looks like the Chargers had some injuries yesterday in that finale. It'll be curious to see how that's going to affect them coming up. Mine is the Dolphins at the Buffalo Bills, and the weather's not going to be that bad in Buffalo, so the Dolphins don't have to worry about that. I'm just wondering on the whole psychological effect of DeMar's episode that happened and the big win over the Pats. Could there be a letdown for the Bills? So I'm really curious to that. And is Tua definitely coming back? It looks like he is. So that's my big one there.
Yeah, the DeMar thing's over, but they're still talking about it. The kid's going to the bathroom, he's eating, it's over. The Bills showed yesterday in knocking the Patriots out of the playoffs, and just Josh Allen was splendid. That whole thing I think it's going to motivate them more than anything, that they want to continue this nice run, and they're 13 seconds away last year from going to from moving on and maybe going to the Super Bowl. So that's a big motivation for the Bills. I'll tell you what I like, also intriguing to me. I don't know how the Minnesota Vikings, and we'll talk about it later, are favored over the Giants. The Giants are another great feel-good story. I love Daniel Jones, what Brian Dable's done with that team. And Minnesota has really struggled in some of their last games. They beat the Bears, but the Bears stink. So,
yep. Yeah, my other one is the Cowboys and the Bucks. I actually, and you'll see when we do our picks, I'm actually picking the Bucks to beat the Cowboys there. Hey, we're going to have our picks coming up in the Hardline section. Hardline's not going to be with us today, but he will be back, and he has texted us his bets, so you will get them along with bets from Fish and me. So we should say welcome to Daily Fish, everyone. Coming to you from Vegas and Myrtle Beach, I'm John Daly. He is Eric Fish Snyder. Questions or comments, drop them in the chat box if you're watching us live. If not, email us anytime at dailyfish, dailyfish1@gmail.com. All right, Fish, let's get into a couple other topics here. Camps for UFC fighters. UFC fighters are in camps now for training, but it seems like this should be a Netflix series or a documentary type series. There's some drama there. What's your take on this?
It's not the camps for the fighters. It's for young kids. When I was a kid,
right,
I went to football camp. Went away for a week to Cal State Lutheran out in Thousand Oaks, and there was and you stayed with the roommate, and you had pro football guys show you how to tackle. I went to basketball camp in the same place. Now they have UFC camps for young kids. Imagine a little girl saying, "I want to go to UFC camp, mommy, for a week," so I can go and learn how to buddy up other women. It's just complete difference in decades and the camp logic. I don't get that.
I'm with you 100%. And again, I'm not a big UFC fan because I think there's just too many head injuries there. And it just doesn't make sense. Now we'll talk about something else a little later as far as karate. And I think that's actually kind of cool. But before we hit that, let's talk about, because you've been noticing commercials during sporting events that have intrigued you or raised your eyebrows or raised something else. What do you think?
One of my first assignments working for America Online, I make a long story short, was covering the Raiders from 1998 on their AOL team page to 2002. The first preseason game was against the Green Bay Packers in 1998. It's on the road to, and here comes a commercial in the first quarter, and it's two beautiful women, a mom and a girl, in their cardigan sweaters on a beautiful, pristine lake. And the daughter says to the mother, "Mom, do you ever get that unfresh feeling?" And she goes, "Honey, you need to douche." Now, let me show you the kind of commercials that are on now.
a pea-sized amount
show you
of
a
Lumi
commercial. Check
applied
this out.
between your butt cheeks like this. I will demonstrate. Just kidding, I won't. Like this. We put Lumi to the test and compared it to a shower. 12 hours after a shower with soap and water, the average crotch has an odor score of 5 to 6 out of 10. 12 hours after a shower and applying Lumi, you're at a 0 out of 10. No odor all day. I'm not a mathematician, but I think it means that Lumi is infinitely more effective than a shower alone. So just take a shower or shower with Lumi and be 0 out of 10.
Now, she is a doctor, and she's a doctor on TV too, actually. So that to me is one of the most fun things. And, we're beginning to get some really good numbers. And I know we're going to have some sponsors coming in. Wouldn't you love to have her on the show every week, even if she was just on for 2 minutes, and just think of the questions you would be asking her about women's body odor?
She has an actual commercial where she puts her hands up and I'm getting so excited. She's doing this and doing that. She goes, no stink. I mean, this is the new era that we're in with TV commercials. Those are kind of commercials I like. The other commercials you see also, how many dating sites do you see? And you see, it's incredible. You have, and there's one, look, we love everyone, but heavyset.com, if you're heavy and you want to meet someone heavy, you go on heavyset.com. I just go to the nearest In-N-Out Burger and hang out there all day and get a date with the first person that gets 5 doubles. I mean, it's insane. It's that. Remember real quick, when we grew up, it was all car commercials and cigarette commercials. Yeah. Now it's women talking about their body odor and their crotch smells, and fat people trying to get dates. I love it. I can't wait to see the future of TV commercials.
Yeah, it's coming, especially if TV is still around. All righty. Hey, we mentioned this just before about karate schools. Karate schools seem to be booming. And if you just do a local Google search, and they pop up all the time, no matter where you are. Fish, you're kind of a karate kid. You're the karate kid of the show. So what are you seeing?
I took it. I love it. And a kid I work with that's an alumni of the show, Aiden Minks, who actually plays the character Mitch on Cobra Kai, works at Chuck's Tavern with me. He's a great kid. He's going to be an outstanding chef and have his own restaurants within 5 years. That being said, that show, Cobra Kai, John, which is the #1 show on Netflix, has inspired a new trend of people open karate dojos. And it's great because karate teaches you discipline and self-defense. It's not the UFC where you're trying to beat the crap out of someone. Yep. It teaches you self-defense and it teaches you respect. And I love it.
I agree with you. And, when they consider the other training things for other fighting type things, karate is actually cheaper because there's a lot more of the dojos around. So it actually kind of keeps the price down. And you're absolutely right. Self-defense, mental discipline, and exercise. I think it's absolutely something that's fabulous. And I would have my kids do it as well. All right. Now we have the famous and infamous memes from Fish. Okay. What are you glued to this week, Fish?
Well, I want to get in on this. I thought that the response to Damar Hamlin's horrible incident that happened last Monday night, a week ago, was the whole nation, the world, and the NFL response was great. Look at Allegiant Stadium for 2 days. This is fantastic. Great.
Yeah.
That's elite. That's the stadium for the Raiders Stadium. Had Hamlin. He drove down the 15. That's what you see. All right. Being a Raider fan, you got to take a lot of shit. So KFC had an ad. Look, check out what Colonel Sanders is doing. You know why? You know why, John? Because you know why? This is horrible. We deserve better. This guy, this poor bastard, was asked to take that sign down. And I don't get that. At Allegiant, they were telling people that had derogatory signs to take it down. You be yourself. There's a lot of people that wanted the Lions last night, and thank God, way to go, Hardline. You finally got your Lions to give you a lot of hope, and I know how great you felt about that. Check out this picture of Aaron Rodgers. This is insane. Yeah, poor guy. I'll tell you, now. Here we go, John. We can do a little bit of going back and doing some nostalgia. I'm reading this part. If you remember this car, your childhood was awesome. It's from the Flintstones. So, Flintstones is the latest satire cartoons that came out. All right, John, you read this one. We're almost coming to an end here. This is cute. Read it.
Hang on a second. I don't know if I can read it. So, once upon a time, a man asked a girl to marry him. The girl said no, and she lived happily ever after and went shopping, dancing, and drinking. She always has a clean house, never cooked, and looked fabulous all the time. The end. Beautiful. And that's a mom giving a bedtime story to her daughter.
This is how John and I grew up. Because we there's no wall culture, no bullshit and Karens, all right? Gen Xers, 1965 to 79, the last great generation before all these sissies were born, and it's a kid drinking a Coors on Santa Monica Beach. He's got a tattoo of a biker club on his arm. I love it. I guarantee that kid probably grew up to be a congressman. All right, I'm going to do this, John. The last one I got to do. Don't look at the dot. He's not really Hindu in the middle. But there's appreciation because the guy passed away. I think the anniversary. If you didn't love this man and his acting, it's a picture of James Heaney. I mean, The Sopranos, and there's a dot right in the middle of his head. I don't want you to get a selfie. I'm not really him. I'm James Gandolfini playing Tony Soprano. Thank you very much, please. That's my memes, motherfuckers.
There you go. Actually, somebody taking a photo, and then the flashlight got on there. So, all right. And those are the Daily Fish memes. Hey, folks, thanks for joining us here on Daily Fish. We talk sports, entertainment, politics, everything in between, just like you do. No woke, no extreme, no social justice cops here. You got a problem? Okay, let us know. Send comments or questions to dailyfish1@gmail.com. Now, coming up later, we're going to give you our takes on the Speaker of the House chaos in Congress. We will also wonder if celebrities' lives are more important than most of us. And we will look at what types of TV shows are more popular. And also a big reminder, this week, Thursday, January 12th, we will be interviewing superstar actor Bryan Cranston. We're going to ask him about the upcoming season of Your Honor on Showtime. Plus, we will delve into the finale of Better Call Saul, where Walter White came back to show up, as we kind of expected, but Bryan wouldn't admit it earlier. Plus, we will talk sports with Bryan, who is also a big sports fan. Again, that is coming up on Thursday, January 12th. All right, folks, now it's time for Schmuck, Swag, and Drink. Fish, who's been schmucky this week?
I hate to disguise from my wife's hometown. Okay, if you remember, he's a quarterback for the Browns in the 80s. He got fired by the Browns because he made a $19,000 bet. If you have that kind of addiction, you're not a schmuck because of that, because people have maladies. But you can't gamble. And he just made it. He walked into a goddamn place and placed a bet. Someone recognized him and ratted him out. And shame. It's a schmucky move. I don't care if you gamble. Just get one of your friends to do it. Call Daly's wife and say, Terry, here's $19,000. Go bet on the Browns for me. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get the mentality, the schmuck mentality.
I would agree. Yeah, it's too bad. And Bernie Kosar is a good guy too.
Really good guy.
Yep. All right. Got any others, or is that the only schmuck this week? We got who's got the swag? Who's got it? Swag. Who are we celebrating this week, Fish?
I'm glad to celebrate this guy. Watched the HBO series on the Inside Hard Knocks of the season, the Arizona Cardinals. I've always liked this guy as a player. I did not know the philanthropy of J.J. Watt. I did not know he raised $39 million when they had that huge flood in Houston years ago and was up for GQ Man of the Year. Besides having 120 sacks and 3-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year, he said, you know what? I'm retiring. I'm playing at a high level, but I want to be with my family. I like that. That to me, thank you for your swag career. Thank you for your off-the-field exploits. Have a good life, J.J. Watt. We miss you in the NFL.
Absolutely. All right. And now we're going to toast with our drink of the week. What are we sipping, and what are we going to be sipping with to toast J.J. Watt, Fish?
I told you on Saturday when we did our Daily Fish Hook to promote Cranston in our shows that this time of the year, it's Black Monday in the NFL, and we'll talk about it. A lot of coaches get canned, and it's 8 months from without football. Okay, so I'm drinking Southern Comfort to comfort because that's a Kenny Stabler drink, and Kenny Stabler was the greatest athlete I've ever is my hero growing up. So to Southern Comfort, it's a shot. It's really good with Coke, but a lot of people drink it as a shot. I'm picking the cherry version. Everything's going to cherry. Crown apple, Crown vanilla, So I'm doing the cherry version. What do you got there? That's not Southern Comfort, is it? It's like Manischewitz.
It's Southern Comfort with a little Coca-Cola in it. Yeah.
Hey, salute.
Here we go. Cheers.
Here we go,
to
JJ.
Now, what I do sometimes is I throw a little maraschino liqueur in it because you get that extra cherry taste that's really, really neat. So, and that's a big thing that Hemingway used to enjoy. So try that. But anyway, that was the Southern Comfort Cherry Shot. And folks, the Daily Fish Drink of the Week is sponsored by Shucks Tavern in Vegas. Great seafood and drinks in 2 locations. Head to Shucks Tavern on North Durango on the northwest side of town where fish is overnight. Say Daily Fish Podcast. Guess what? You get a free drink. Do it the next day, you get a free appetizer. That's Shucks Tavern. Check out Shucks Tavern on Facebook. And folks, again, this is Daily Fish. We're on Facebook at daily.fish.5. Subscribe there. Also subscribe to us on YouTube. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Stitcher, and Amazon. Watch us on Facebook at Myrtle Beach Golf Channel and Myrtle Beach Grand Strand Life. You can check out Daily Fish on YouTube and Wingding TV, and check out our post and news updates on Twitter and Facebook. All right. Now let's get some bets from the Daily Fish Hardlines. Unfortunately, Hardline couldn't be with us. And he is John Hardison with the podcast Cost of Winning, focusing on fantasy sports and sports betting. He's on Spotify, Google, and Apple as well. And Hardline, maybe if you're getting a chance to watch, we have your picks here, and we're going to get the recommendations of you. But we're also going to have Fish and me give our bet recommendations. But here's the rule, Fish. If Fish and I disagree, you go with Fish. If we agree, you go the other way. Overall, I would say go with Hardline's pick. Now, Fish, the reason I'm saying that was because when we did our quick hit on Saturday, I proved to myself, I said, the Packers are going to win. And I said the Chiefs-Raiders game would be a close game. And so isn't that a pretty good indication to go against everything I say?
I wanted the Raiders to win, obviously, but I just knew deep down that Mahomes is a magician, and I picked the Lions. Who knows? I could have been wrong. It was a great game, though, wasn't it? Wow.
Yeah.
Great game.
Yeah, it really was. Really was a good game. Yeah. And it was also, even if you don't like Aaron Rodgers, it was tough to see him. He was crying going off the field, So, all right, let's get into the bets here. Let's start with tonight's college football championship. Georgia is a 13-point favorite over TCU. The under and over is 63.5. The money line is TCU plus 370 and Georgia minus 500. Hardline told us to take TCU in the points. What would you take, Fish?
Absolutely. Big fan of Max Duggan, the quarterback from TCU. He's a bigger guy. He's like a linebacker playing quarterback like Josh Allen. He runs the read option. And the fact that their defense really stymied Michigan for most of that game, they'll do the same thing to Georgia. So I like that bet.
Okay, I'm going to take the under. I think 13 points is a really big spread, so I would take the under in that. All right, let's hit the NFL, the wild card round on Saturday early. The Seahawks are 10-point underdogs on the road to the Niners. Seahawks are plus 390. Niners are minus 530 on the money line. Under and over is 43. Hardline says take the Niners, giving up 10. What are you saying?
Well, there's that old adage that when you play someone 3 times, the Niners beat them twice in the regular season. At the third time, it usually goes to the underdog. So I like the Seahawks. I would tease it. I texted Hardline this morning. You can get 14 points for that and pay a little more money. I don't think the Seahawks are going to get blown out, and so I'll go Seahawks. I'll go the other way.
I agree. I was going to go with the under. I'm a little concerned about Purdy. He's never been in the playoffs before, even as great as he's been. So we'll have to see on that. All right, Saturday's games. Chargers are 1-point favorites at the Jags. The Chargers money line is minus 122. The Jags are plus 100. The under and over is 47. Hardline says take the Chargers and the money line. What are you saying, Fish?
I'm going Jaguars. John, did it bother you yesterday that Brandon Staley, the head coach of the Chargers, kept the starters in almost the whole game? And Mike Williams, I'm asking you, John, Mike Williams, our star receiver, got hurt. I mean, if you're a Charger fan, you're saying, what the fuck are these guys doing in there? You're locked into the 5th seed. So I don't get that. I like the Jaguars. They're a fun story. I love Trevor Lawrence. My wife likes him better because of that blonde lock hair and that Fabio look. But 2 stud, this is the one game where you're focusing on 2 stud quarterbacks. Well, the Bengals and the Ravens also. But you got two
Yeah.
young stud quarterbacks that are the future of the game with Herbert at the Chargers and Jaguars. I like the Jaguars.
I'm going to take the Jags in the money line as well. Again, just like you're saying, I think the Chargers might be banged up and we don't know it. Again, I think they played too many starters on Sunday. All right, let's hit some more of the Sunday games. The Bills are home favorites by 11 over the Dolphins. The money line is plus 430 for the Dolphins, and it is minus 590 for the Bills. The under and over is 44. Hardline says take the Dolphins in the points. What are you thinking, Fish?
That's a hard one, Hardline, because we don't know if Tua Tagovailoa is going to play. There's reports he might not, and Teddy Bridgewater might not play. If you're going with a third-string quarterback in Buffalo, I don't care what the weather's like, the intensity of the playoffs brings a level of play up. I got to go with the Bills in this one. We talked about it earlier. This whole DeMar Hamlin thing is going to make them more motivated, and I'm going with the Bills.
I'm with you on that. The question for me again is Tua. So I think I'm going to take the Bills and I'll give up the 11 points. All right, next game, Giants at the Vikings. The Vikings are only a 3-point home favorite. The money line is the Giants plus 128 and the Vikes minus 155. The under and over is 47.5. Hardline says take the over. Fish, call it.
I'm big on the Giants. My family's from New York. My favorite relatives, my brother-in-law, Dave Pinati, has got me into the Giants. Everyone's got a second team. Obviously, the Raiders are my first team. I love the Giants, and I follow them religiously. I like the Giants in this game. They're the most well-coached team in the league. Brian Dable will be up for Coach of the Year, and what he's done with Daniel Jones and that team is incredible. They have a top 10 defense. The Vikings don't impress me right now. I'm going with the Giants.
All right, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go with the Vikings, and I'm going to take the points. And one of the reasons why is that it seems to me when the Vikings have a couple of bad games, they bounce back and they win. I love the Giants too. I love what they've done, and I love Dabo, and I love everything. And I'm a Giants fan, so I'm also hoping that my bet's wrong so that the Giants do win. Go for it.
Okay, can I say something? Can I take something back? Kozar, you're now the schmuck of the week for making that, okay? Because you're a Giants fan, and John, you said you have another schmuck? Yeah, you, the good-looking Irish guy. Let's do it.
Hey, I resemble that. All right, the late game Sunday is the Ravens at the Bengals. Bengals are 6.5-point favorites. The money lines are Ravens plus 235 with the Bengals minus 295. The under and over is 43.5. Hardline has the Bengals minus 6.5. What are you thinking there, Fish?
Wow. I like the Bengals. This team has won 7 in a row. And Joe Burrow is hot, although you got to give the Ravens a little. The Ravens are one of the most well-coached teams, too, with John Harbaugh for staying in it with Anthony Brown, a third-string quarterback. But I think Lamar's coming back. This is going to be a great game. I like the Bengals. I would lay this 6.5. I just think the Bengals, again, they tasted the Super Bowl last year, and they're getting hot, and they're peaking right now. What do you think, Daly?
Actually, I'm going to go with the Ravens and the 6.5 points. I think they're going to make it close. I think the Bengals will probably win. I think it's going to be a fairly cold night there, according to the forecast. And I don't know, the Bengals don't seem to be doing well in cold weather. But anyway, we'll figure that out. But anyway, we go in a different one. So you know what the rule is. If Fish and I disagree, you go with Fish. All right, Monday night has the Cowboys as a 3-point favorite on the road in Tampa. The Bucks money line is plus 125, while the Pokes are minus 152. The under over is 45. Hardline is taking the Bucks plus 3. Who are you picking?
I'm going with the Cowboys, much as it pains me to say, because I think that one of those quarterbacks on those teams will be playing here next year, and it's not Dak Prescott. I just think there's nothing about Tampa. There's nothing about Tampa that excites me right now, except Tom Brady, and they're an 8-9 team. And I think Dallas is just a hair away. Maybe that girl that did that commercial could tell you what kind of hair it was from just exploding. And if it gets into a shootout, I got to go with the Cow. I think the Cowboys have a little bit more moxie than the Bucks do right now. You?
Yeah, well, it could go both ways, but I'm going to go with Hardline. I got the Bucks and the points. I just don't like the way the Cowboys play under pressure. I mean, I like Dak, but he just makes too many mistakes. So that's where I'm going to look at it there. All right, those are the games. Let's take a look at some coaching odds. And we should just say that Cliff Kingsbury, we just found out as we were going on the air here, has been fired by the Cardinals. So obviously there's Wilkes, there's Kingsbury. He's now gone. Saleh, McDaniels, McVay, and Saturday. Who do you think, Fish, is going to be the next one to go?
I don't think Saturday will be coaching by this Friday. I just don't see it happening. They won one game in them against the Raiders and lost the rest. I think Saleh gets a pass. I love Steve Wilkes. You live in that part of the country. He did a great job with that Carolina team.
Absolutely.
I think there's a shot. Remove it. You agree? Move the interim tag, John, and give him the full-time job. Kingsbury's gone. I think Lovie Smith got shafted. What a shit organization that is. You bring him in for one. David Culley last year. Smith. This team had the Cowboys and the Chiefs recently in overtime, and they don't have any. The roster's not that talented. They were in every single game, so I'm sad about that. This might be a year where there's not a lot of coaching changes. I mean, look. Let's bring this into it. Do you think Sean Payton and Jim Harbaugh are going to get jobs this year? Because I do.
I think they both will. Yeah. And I think they're both looking to get back. Sean Payton has been out enough, and he's fine on TV, but McVay's the one who should be on TV. And even though he's a great sideline coach. But here's the thing too, Jim Harbaugh's got some investigations coming up. The NCAA's going after them on a couple of different violations, a couple of them recruiting, and one of them is kind of a strange thing, but he had too many coaches at a practice, I guess, that went against NCAA violations. I think Harbaugh is going to want to get out of that. And I think the fact that they're talking to him, especially in Denver, I think he's there. I think Sean Payton's going to get the first pick, whoever goes after. Then I think Harbaugh is going to do it. So I think you're right. Let me ask you this. We didn't touch on this. Josh McDaniels with the Raiders. Do you have any opinion, or do you have any insight, since you're there in Vegas, as to what's going to happen with the Raiders? Do you think they hold on to him and give him another year, or do you think that they're going to give him the boot?
They had the number 9 offense in the league, between 9 and 10. I don't know how the final stats will come out later. I haven't seen them yet. So, but the overall work as a coach was horrible. I gave him a D grade. I think he does come back because Mark Davis is all he's been doing his whole career is paying coaches that he fired. So I think he does come back. There has to be changes. I think if a certain TB12 comes in, that's the kind of splash Vegas needs. Because I'll tell you what hurts here the most. And I talked to Gabriel Ellis in the marketing department of the Raiders. When you have 70% of the other fans coming into your stadium, it's a buzzkill. It causes fights. And you need a splash in Las Vegas. So I think we need continuity. I think we'll have a different quarterback. And again, when you have an offense that's number 9 or 10, you just build the defense up and maybe you could change it. But yeah, I don't have any long-winded on it. I think McDaniels gets another year to turn this thing around.
If I had to bet, I would bet on that also. All right, we talked about Shucks Tavern and with our drink of the week, the last man standing. Was there a last man standing?
We had 3, and congratulations to Kerry W. and Tony W. and Tyler. They all tied, so they split the thousands, so 330 apiece. Tyler and Kerry, I believe. No, Tyler and Tony took Seattle, and then one had Jacksonville. So they all finished. So they split the pot, and in 26 years, there's never been less. It's always 3 people or less that win it, which is good. It's never 7 people that get to the end and split the pot. It's always 3 or less, and that's good.
Well, it's a strange year, that's for sure. All right, and that is the Daily Fish Hardlines, normally with John Hardison of the Cost of Winning podcast. Hopefully he'll be back next week. You can find him here with us, and he's also on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. Stick around. Fish and I are going to hit some politics and controversy. But first, you need a great golf getaway. The Myrtle Beach Golf Trail has dozens of courses along the Carolina coast. Set up an entire trip for yourself, your family, or a bunch of friends. The site is myrtlebeachgolftrail.com. Play there year round. In fact, we just had one of our guests, attorney Ken Lakin. He was in town here with me, and he played golf here, and he hit some of the restaurants. This is a great place, even as good as Florida. Yeah, Florida might be a little bit hotter, but still, you got good weather down here. Folks, if you can, check out the Myrtle Beach Golf Trail at myrtlebeachgolftrail.com. All right, let's get into a little bit of controversy here, my friend. We got 3 topics here. Let me hit you with this one here. Let's go with the ramifications of the Kevin McCarthy becoming speaker. you were watching this, and this was like drama. This was strange stuff going on. What do you think the ramifications of all this is going to be?
First of all, I'm trying to get in there. Hardline sent us a selfie. Be here, right?
Nice.
I said,
He
wow,
looks good.
that looks a lot like CeeLo. He looks like CeeLo.
Yeah.
That's what Hardline looks like. He wishes it looked like that. We miss you, brother, and we're gonna watch your bets. And
he's got to be on some. He's
I
got to be like in St. Martin or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know where he's at, but that guy's mysterious. Kevin McCarthy. All right. I asked you on Saturday. I don't understand. You explained to me how it takes 15 times to make a vote. I don't know what the ramifications are going to be because I don't follow politics like you do. But I do know this: we're so divided that we can't get anything right. And when we're divided, nothing gets done. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think you're going to have certainly total chaos at first. Again, the far right congressional people who did all the deals to get him in there, they got a hold on legislation. I do think there's some moderate Republicans that are going to intercede. The big fear for me is going to be the defense cuts. They want to do cut in spending, especially cutting or freezing money for Ukraine. I think one of the things that's going to hurt, especially the far right, they're going to look like they're pro-Putin at a time, when, we need to stand up to dictators. So I'm a little concerned at that. I think they're going to try to make the budget situation so that we just slice all spending, and it could cause stalemates where nothing gets done. So I don't know. We're just going to have to watch that. There's, what exactly they're going to do. We don't really know, but I would certainly pay attention to it and see what's going to happen and prepare yourself for anarchy.
There you go again. There you go again.
Wow. All right. Well, let me ask you this, because this kind of ties into that. Do you think, or do you think people think their lives are as important as celebrities or persons in the public view? Because a lot of people have this, image of, I just saw the thing with Prince Harry on 60 Minutes, and are we as important as Prince Harry? I mean, Fish, give me your takes on this, because you've got some really interesting takes on this.
This is a delicate subject matter because people say I'm a hater when they go on the website. I'm not a hater. I just think that you, the person that's writing me that I'm a hater, is just as important as anyone that goes through strife in their life, because they're a public figure and they're on TV, or an athlete doesn't make them any better than you. All right. That's what I'm trying to, and in order for our society to be less divided and come together, this is a cliche, but we all bleed red and we all put our pants on the same way. And we all eat with a fork, hopefully. And we all order from a menu. And we all talk on the phone. And we all watch TV with our eyes. And it's the people that this is where I'd be called a hater. The people that think they're better than you because they're an actor or an athlete. Let me tell you something. This is the way I was raised. And it sounds cliche and it sounds Pollyanna, but the way it is. Teachers, military, policemen, firemen, doctors, first responders, and nurses are more important than anyone you watch on TV or any athletes that we think are heroic. Okay? What happened to Damar Hamlin was so horrible. Me being a football fan, watching the expressions on these guys' faces, especially Joe Burrow and Josh Allen, John, the terror. I said to Vicky, my wife, this is bad. I think he died. He didn't. But all you hear about is the love for this kid, and he deserves it. It's the love for those fucking first responders that got there and did this. And you know what? I heard a great line. It wasn't Boomer Esiason. Deion Sanders said, you know what? The great thing about these first responders is they're doing that, and then 20 minutes later, they're saving someone else's life. Have more respect for the people that aren't the Prince Harrys and the Williams and the LeBron James and the George Clooney's. Yeah, they entertain you. That's all they do. But the people you need in your life are the nurses and doctors and teachers, firefighters, and cops. Am I right or am I wrong? Am I a hater? No.
No.
I love entertainment just like you do. John, you make a living. You've made a living your whole life. You're on the air. You were great. I make fun of you all the time, but I got my news from you. You and Kathy Ray sat there at Channel 13 News, and I watched you every night. and my wife masturbated over you, and I had to live with that shit. All right? Hello? Well, yeah,
Oh, what
anyway,
she did?
Yeah.
That's news. That's news to me. Now you tell me.
Yeah. And no, and you did real TV, so you're in the limelight, and you handle it. Obviously, you have a lot of humility, and you're humble about it. Do you see my point of view? That I'm trying to speak for all of us. That hey, you know what? If we get COVID, we don't have doctors coming to our house. We don't have 27 doctors around the president. We don't have doctors coming to our house if we're LeBron to give us medicine. We got to sit in the fucking urgent care or go to the. That's 99% of the world. Done.
Well, and again,
you go.
And again, it's what I always say. We all think we're celebrities. We're heroes of our own stories. Many times we just, we look at these people and we kind of go, oh, we're not part of it. But everybody's a hero of their own story. So they kind of act out celebrity wise. And you're beginning to see where there's so many people who are not celebrities, but they make themselves celebrities because of social media. And you're seeing it with members of Congress. We're talking about the whole thing with the Speaker of the House, and those 10 or 20 congressmen that were holding it up, they're all being heroes of their own story, and they're celebrities. And the majority of people in Congress, all they do is try to raise money, and they try to be celebrities so they can get themselves known, they can get elected, and they're not helping anybody. They're certainly not helping the country. But I agree with you 100%. And again, what I try to do is, when somebody's posting something, I don't post anything back like, you're an idiot, get off there. I ignore them. And I think that's what you got to do, because a lot of them are looking for hate, because that gives them more popularity. Right. But I agree with you. I think we need to applaud the people who are really doing the things, who are doing the sacrificing, who are not looking for publicity. And, your example of those medics who were right there on the scene. And again, we talked about this Saturday too. I think the Damar situation should force a lot of organizations, people, towns, cities. They should be having defibrillators in every place. If you're at a Little League game, you need to have a defibrillator there. You also need to train people on how to do it so it can be done, because it's proven that if you do that, you're going to save lives, and it's not going to necessarily kill somebody. So, but yeah, I agree with you 100% with you right there.
Let's pontificate on this. I love that's my new word, pontificate. I'm trying to be more. You told me I have to be a plethora of verbiage in 2023, so I'm trying to learn how to have more diction to my explanatory schmuckness. Do you think? I'll go one step further. You say hero of your own stories, and people are texting. What does he mean by that? I'll give you my example of what, and you tell me what you mean by that, because I know what you mean. But you tell our audience what you mean. When you go to a Raider game and you see fist fights because people think they own the team. There's Raider fans that go, hey, get out of here, it's my stadium. It's not your stadium. Mark Davis and whoever bought that stadium. It's not your team. You don't own it. It's entertainment. Yeah, we want our team to win. Are they the heroes of their own story because they're defending their team? Or is it what I think it is, a combination of stupidity and anger?
Well, add them all together, and that's what you get. Think about the guy who went in and shot up the pizza place in Washington, D.C. because he was convinced that Hillary Clinton and other Democrats were maiming and sexually exploiting kids in the downstairs of that pizza place because QAnon told him that. And if you listen to his voice message to his daughter as he's going to do this, you're going to go, wow, that guy's the hero. Oh my God, he's going to save it. And he understands that. It's the same thing as the old man who comes out on his lawn. Get off my lawn to all the kids. He's the hero of his own story. That's his lawn. That's his property. That's his kingdom. We all think we have that, and we forget that there are other people out there. So for instance, when I have a lot of people who come up and they say some stuff that I think is ridiculous as far as their political leanings or their knowledge of news, I don't say to them, you're a freaking idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. Let me show you this fact check. You're a boob. What I usually do is I try to kind of figure, okay, where are you coming from? And a lot of them have different backgrounds. They've come from different areas. They've been there, and it's like, I'm not going to criticize them. People know my background. So usually they kind of, okay, he was a news guy. He's been a reporter. He's been an investigative reporter. He knows how to look up stuff. A lot of people don't. So I think you kind of let people have their way. Let them be the hero of their own story as long as they're not hurting anybody. That's the big thing. And I think
Right.
it's what keeps a lot of people moving on. And Fish, you and I, we've written screenplays before. We know story structure. The main character, he's going to be the hero of that story, and we've got to follow his story. And that's what's happening. And if you think about how entertainment has taken over our lives, that's exactly what's going on. Everybody is living their own movie, their own story. And sometimes it gets out of hand because it's all about you rather than learning a lesson. And the great thing about, as you and I know from screenwriting, is there's got to be a lesson. There's got to be an outcome and then a lesson so that people understand the humanity of things. And most people, when they're in the hero of their own stories, they never get to that. That's the difference.
All right. So remind me to ask you a question about something I'm starting to donate my time to. When we get done, where are we going now? We're going somewhere. Oh,
actually, we got to talk about the different genre of television that's selling, because you're beginning to see some different things that's going on our screens there. Fill us in on that.
Well, we just talked about women's talking about their crotches and their ass cracks. That's great. That's during football games. Okay. We had an alumni of the show named Eric Mathis wrote a great movie called The Macabre, and it won the best cult film at the Horror Film Festival. And he's got like a 3-picture deal. I'm attracted to that kind of stuff. You're an apocalyptic guy in the real life. You think there's going to be nuclear war, and then the only thing that's going to survive is me and you doing a podcast. Okay, that's great. But if you look at all the new shows coming out, I notice I'm a big Walking Dead guy. I don't know why we're attracted. There's a new one coming out on HBO called The End of Us, and there's a lot of big time actors in it. And by the look of it, it's an apocalyptic. Something happens to the world, and there's monsters, and there's A Quiet Place 3 coming out. There's horror films left and right. Did we, when we were younger, I can't remember, did we have that much of attractiveness to horror films and blood and macabre that we do now? Can you go back that and think that, John? Because right now, horror is the number one thing that sells, and killing in action movies. There's no romantic comedies anymore that are one selling hits. It's now, unless it's an Avatar or some crazy like that, it's about Top Gun's an aberration to that. But most of your big films now are the Marvel films, and they're crazy, and there's action adventure in that, and there's killing. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we even had it as kids. I'm trying to remember of the different ones, because I mean I did watch them, but I can't say that I was a fan of them. I was more interested in the historical type stuff. But yeah, I think we had a lot of horror films as kids. Jason wasn't that we had?
That was, we weren't kids. That came out in the 80s. We were in our 20s or 30s, and that came out probably
we
came
were
out in the
kids.
late 80s. Yeah, I mean,
We were
kids.
kids.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But horror has,
that horror.
Hitchcock. We had Alfred
yeah.
Hitchcock, but I think it's just gotten even more so now. I do think, because we're going through, global warming. There's a chance of nuclear weapons. There's a chance of dictators taking over. So I think we're just going to lean towards that stuff. Now, I would never talk about that myself because I don't do the Debbie Downer stuff. So, but I so,
you got a midnight show at the 2-drink minimum. Try the veal.
yeah, actually, I what's great, and you talked about this on Saturday, was the movie you just watched with Ray Fiennes in it, and that I'm really intrigued to it, because that's kind of like a high-end horror film.
Well, back then you touched on something. You talk about Hitchcock, right? Psycho they were thrillers. They put you on the edge of your seat because it was a psychological thriller. It wasn't one guy. It wasn't Anthony Perkins hacking everybody. The Birds was brilliant. Remember that movie with where the bird
Janet Leigh.
Yeah, and who was the guy who was great? I can't get the actor's name. Someone write in. But he did a lot of Hitchcock films. And the birds started attacking humans. So there was a story to it. Now you get the Jasons and the Freddy Kruegers, and you get Mike. How many Halloween movies? How many times is Mike Myers going to die?
Yeah.
He's probably killed. Here's another segue to that. Arnold Schwarzenegger. did a movie called Commando in 1985 with Ray Don Chong. He has an AK-47 with a 100-round clip, and he's being shot at by 70 soldiers with AK-47s with a 100-round clip, and he kills all of them. Yeah. All of them, And they stand there, get to the chopper, I'll be back, And I'm thinking, even the movies we have now that are violent like that, the Stallone, the Rambos, one guy's killing 500 people, okay? Back then, again, to prove my point, the Hitchcock films were psychological thrillers, but it wasn't one guy killing 500 people.
Yeah. Well, that's true too. And I think a lot of it was, for the most part, the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and even the 80s was kind of, the average person had kind of a boring life. And so these were kind of like, oh, let's wake up and see something totally different. And I think that's what
you're talking about. I had a great, maybe, let me tell you something. Eric, this is where I get pissed off at you. I love you like a brother. I get pissed off at you. I'm gonna go at you right now. Eric Mathis, the guy that did The Macabre, is supposed to kill you and I in one of his future films. We're doing a podcast. You know how he kills John? The monster has a knife to John's neck and says, if you say the word fuck or shit, you live. And he can't do it. They cut his fucking veins out. And the last thing he's ever holding is that one glove he had for his golf clubs in one hand and Grey Poupon in the other. I mean, we had a great life in the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
I'm not saying you had a great. I'm just saying it wasn't, it wasn't tumultuous. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying for the most part, every night you came home after work, you watched TV, you did different things, you saw incredible things, but it necessarily didn't affect your life. And that's why we would watch entertaining things like that, or watch things that were a little kind of crazy and out there.
Well, okay. To expand on your point, when we grew up, and Casey Evans talks into the show and says, what was it like when you and Debbie grew up? Did you grow up in the 70s? I said, we appreciated things more because we didn't have social media. We didn't have the highlights on our phone to watch the NFL, which I love, by the way. Technology's made my life and everyone's life better for that. But there's something also about appreciating waiting for the 6 o'clock news to come on to watch the highlights of the Raider game. And then reading the newspaper next day because every game wasn't on. You didn't have the Sunday ticket. It's better now, but you appreciated things more in the 70s and 80s, okay? I mean, you had to work at it. You had to work at women. You don't have these fucking websites. You don't have Go Tinder and Match.com. I mean, when you took a woman out back then, you had a quarter. I mean, yeah, there was one-night stands, all right? And there wasn't, I mean, sometimes you had a girl and she had a bush like Vietnam down there, and you had to navigate through that. And that was what you had to do, all right? I know I'm sounding gross right now, but everything you had to appreciate, okay? And people appreciate things now. It just seems from now because of John. When John and I grew up, I'm speaking for John, there was 3 networks, ABC, CBS, and NBC, and maybe 10 other, PBS, Channel 5s, a lot of independent stations. Mm-hmm. Now, we talked about this Saturday. There's got to be between streaming and stars, and it's got to be 200 channels you can go to watch something. Am I being conservative with that, or is there less?
No. I'd say there's a ton out there, and there's a lot of people who just go to YouTube and just watch different things. Even my father-in-law, who passed away 3 or 4 years ago, he would go to YouTube just to get all of his music. So he was on YouTube all the time, and he was he was in his 80s at the time. So that's what happened. What I remember as a child, what's different today is, you're right. I don't have the cell phone. I don't have the streaming. I don't have other stuff. I was with my buddies a lot. And we were, we'd go out, whether it would be out drinking, whether it'd go to somebody's house, whether we go over to watch the games on Sunday. That's what we did. And it's funny. I can always remember that, the worry about what's going on outside, for kids today, and again, you've had kids. I haven't had kids. So I'd be scared to death about my kids being out there. But my 2 buddies, Tom Pryor and Ken Hine, they always told the story that, we'd go out all the time. And yeah, we'd go out drinking and stuff like that, but we never got into trouble. We were always pretty good kids. And Tom can always remember.
Not me.
Well, yeah, he could always remember saying to his mom as he's going out the door, she goes, where are you going? She goes, oh, I'm going out with Kenny and John. And she says, "Oh, what are you going to do?" He says, "Oh, we're going to go rape and pillage." She goes, "Okay, we'll go have fun. That's nice." And he walk out, and because she was obviously she knows we were not going to rape and pillage, but we never, we never had to worry about a lot of things. It was certainly a different era where, my wife talks about going out and, her mom would flick the lights so that, okay, it was end of playtime because it was, kids get off the street. I don't know now you do that. And and also you just see kids on their phones more and more. They're not really communicating with each other in a way that, we used to, and we had to get along. And I don't know about you. I mean, you and I have been buds for over 20 years now. Telling you about Kenny and Tom, I've been friends with them for over 50 years, and we're still as close as can be because we're on the phone, we're texting all the time, and we're still there. But if we were together, we'd be sitting up talking all the time. Anyway, go ahead.
Let me tell you 3 things. Let me tell you what you did as a kid. You went out with Kenny and Tom, and you went to the local diner, and you said to the waitress, Mary Jane Roddencrotch, "Can we get a hamburger, please, medium, with extra pickles, extra lettuce? Thank you very much. Can we get the crinkly fries? And we each want a soda." This is what I did as a kid. I got together with my buddies, and we put dog shit in the bags and lit it on fire and knocked on the door and watched all the idiots walk out, stomp on it, and the shit go off their thing. That's what I did as a kid. But you made a great point. I grew up in Los Angeles, so the weather was always great, even East Coast. When you went by a park when we were younger, you had to put what we got next. You want to play every field was taken, every basketball court was taken.
Yeah.
Now you go by a park in Las Vegas, it's empty when the weather's nice because every idiot's on his phone. I got to ask you a question. I need your advice on something. In 2023, I'm going to donate more of my time, so I want to help older people. All right. My mother-in-law moved out. She's fantastic. It's been a great move. My parents, my dad's gone, but my mom's 85. When you go to an old age home, how do you tell an old person that they smell? Okay. So
you give them Loom as a present.
I know you're going to go there, but I mean, it's so hard because you get the old ladies that say, "Oh, I went to the beauty shop, but this is the first time I did my hair in a week." Old women smell like mothballs, body odor, bad perfume, and pickled herring. That's it. Those are the 4 things they smell like. All right. It's not a bad smell. It's not a good smell. Older men, oh my God. I don't know what's in their bodies. Not about smells, but you tell me a way. Now, I have to wear a mask when you go in these places. It would help. But, how come when I wear a mask, I can't smell anything, but when someone farts, I can smell the fart through the mask? I've always wondered that,
No,
So I need your advice.
What.
Because, John, you have more class than I do. A lot more class than I do. You are a gentleman. I'm a gentleman, too. I open car doors for women. So I know they're paying for the date. But, I mean, you're a gentleman. How would you handle that situation? You go around old people and smell the mask.
Put Vicks Vapor Rub up your nose so that all you do is you'll smell the menthol. That's the best thing. And then if there's a woman there and her husband's there, you can say to her, "Do what my wife does to me." She goes, "Oh, you look and smell like an old man. Go and shower." Yeah. And so I'm just like, "Oh, okay." And so I'm putting on deodorant, I'm squirting cologne and all this. So I'm making sure. So you got to have the woman to denigrate the guy for the guy to do it. I've never gotten close to too many older women, so I have no idea what they smell like.
Well, you're helping people, so you would if you were at home. But let me ask you this. Okay. There's an old saying that I used to say. I go, "I'm dating a girl that's so good looking, she doesn't have morning breath." So that's the sign of someone that smells good. I got to ask them. We got a few minutes left. On a serious note, or not a serious note, it's great entertainment-wise. I haven't asked you this in one of the previous shows, but if you have Paramount Plus, you have to check out a new show called The Tulsa King, starring Sylvester Stallone. Imagine the writers from The Sopranos and Taylor Sheridan, who's done Sicario, Wind River, Hell or High Water, Yellowstone. They combine. Stallone's a guy that's a New York mobster, gets out of jail for 25 years, and he lost his New York territory. He has to go to Tulsa, Oklahoma. I know I said before, I'm at the last episode. It is absolutely fascinating. And I like Stallone. I've always liked Stallone as an actor, but I always think of his Rocky. He nails this. Are you interested in watching that? I think you should.
Oh yeah. I saw the previews for it and I looked into it, and it's a great premise. You laid it out perfectly. You go to another place, and a lot of what these the Netflix series the producers are looking for, they're looking to go shoot in different towns in different cities to give a different perspective. I mean, it's the one reason why oh God, I'm drawing a blank. What's the one with what's the hot one now? The Western, and it's Yellowstone, and they've got 4 or 5 different factions off of it that are in 1923. What happened in 1923? What happened now? I think it's brilliant because it's actually bringing people together. And when you talk to different people, and they say what they love about Yellowstone is that it's something that brings together people from the far left and the far right. They can both watch that. And
let me jump on that because we have 4 minutes to go. I'll be quick. You go to Tulsa, they shoot this in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and you find out there's some, I don't want to give away, there's some really good cultural spots that you would think, you look at Tulsa, Oklahoma as having cultural spots and things about literature and stuff like that. You don't think it's Tulsa, Oklahoma, it's Oklahoma. It's cowboys and tumbleweed. And look at how Vince Gilligan shot, and this is a segue into Cranston. Look what you learned about it. No one knew where Albuquerque was until Breaking Bad came out. And
Absolutely.
You saw so many great shots, the way he shot that. And you saw some, what a great looking mountain, what a great looking scenery they have in their cinematography. So you're absolutely right. It's terrific. And I'm watching 1923 too. Harrison, all that is the Yellowstones, they're prequels. It's a Dutton family, which Kevin Costner. It's funny. I'm not watching Yellowstone, but I'm watching the prequels and I love it.
Interesting. All right, folks, before we go, we're Daily Fish coming to you from Vegas and Myrtle Beach. We hit sports, entertainment, and politics, and everything in between. We're on Facebook at daily.fish.5. You can watch us on Facebook at Myrtle Beach Golf Channel, Myrtle Beach Grand Strand Life. You can check out Daily Fish on YouTube. We're also on Wingding TV, and we're also on Hey Vegas TV at heyvegastv.com. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Stitcher, and Amazon. And this week, on January 12th, this Thursday, we'll be interviewing superstar actor Bryan Cranston. Check that out right here or wherever you watch us or wherever you catch us as well. So we're looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to talking to Cranston again. We had such a great time with him about a year ago.
You talk about, he's like you. You talk about humbleness and humility. It's Bryan Cranston. We talked to him for half an hour after the show, and he's just one of the guys. What I love about him the most is that, and the fact that he's got more range than any actor I could know of. He could do the Your Honor. He could play. If you saw him in The Upside, obviously Breaking Bad, he's done so many things I can't even think of. And I remember him. I just remember that look on his face in Saving Private Ryan. He's the one. He's got the when they're talking about going and getting the Matt Damon character out. The look on his face in that short scene. He was one of the actors there. He had his arm cut off. Just go get this kid. And the look on Cranston's face sold you that scene. And I remember him from that. I remember little things like that. It's just good to talk to a guy who's not full of himself, like me.
It's great. And I attribute to Bryan to helping my career because I was doing some acting classes and, again, I was TV hosting and stuff like that. And one of the reasons I was doing the acting class, because, you and I were going to start writing some screenplays. And he said to me, he says, do you like wake up in the morning thinking about acting? And I go, no. He goes, you don't need to be an actor. He says, be a TV host or a writer. And I was like, you know what? You're absolutely right. I don't wake up thinking how I want to play a role. That's what he did. And that's where he was. And that's why he's the great actor that he is today.
Do you know what he said to me? Do you wake up in the morning and think about Kate Beckinsale? I said, yes. He goes, smart man. All right. Get us out of here, buddy.
All right, pal. Again, we're Daily Fish. Check us out on Thursday. We're going to be talking to Bryan Cranston, and check us out also on Facebook and Twitter. We post a lot of different stuff about sports and entertainment and politics. Check it out there. Tell us what you think. Email us at dailyfish1@gmail.com. You got any questions or comments, any suggestions? And also, we want to get Loom as a sponsor. So call them up and tell her that she should be on the show. All right, buddy.
A pea-sized amount of Lumi applied between your butt cheeks like this. I will demonstrate. Just kidding, I won't. Like this. We put Lumi to the test and compared it to a shower. 12 hours after a shower with soap and water, the average crotch has an odor score of 5 to 6 out of 10. 12 hours after a shower and applying Lumi, you're at a 0 out of 10. No odor all day. I'm not a mathematician, but I think it means that Lumi is infinitely more effective than a shower alone. So just take a shower or shower with Lumi and be 0 out of 10.
The average crotch. Exactly.
I have a huge crush on her. That's
She's great.
She's going to be one of my hall passes. I swear to God. I love you. I'll see you Thursday. Great show.
All right, brother. Take care.
Perfect crotch.